Hello and welcome back to Deep Talks. I'm Peyton. My next guest is a very close friend of mine. He's an actor, EMR, and he's a mental health activist just like me. So I'm going to bring him on. Please welcome Corey Dixon.
Hello.
How are you feeling today?
I'm actually feeling really good. How about you?
I'm okay. I'm surviving,
Nice.
still in school, so
Nice. I remember those
it's not
days.
fun. Okay, so we'll just get right into the questions. So, well,
Sounds
first
good.
of all, I think this is the craziest thing about Corey. He's been through a hell of a lot of things, mental health and trauma, but the craziest thing is that he
Yeah,
fell off of a 50-foot cliff and survived.
that did happen. Yeah, that did happen.
Did you try and stand up after you?
And I fell?
Yeah.
No, right away. No, I was in a coma.
I thought you tried to like when you actually fell, you like tried to stand up, like your reflexes tried to stand
No,
up.
no, no. I was like knocked out. I was at the base of the
Oh,
cliff, like
cool.
knocked out cold.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, we're gonna
yeah.
get more into that. But first of
Sure.
all, I'm just gonna mental health activist, so I'm just gonna start out by saying, what inspired you to speak up about your experiences that you've had?
Um, I think it was the realization. I mean, I did a lot of anti-bullying talks even before my trauma, and going through high school, like I battled with depression, anxiety, like a fair amount, and I think that's kind of what kicked it off because when I did the anti-bullying talks, I realized, you know what, like there's so much more to this, so I jumped into the whole mental health aspect. But I really got into the mental health talks after I had the trauma because when I was hospitalized for like over a year, seeing a lot of like not so nice stuff in the hospital, being around that stuff and um going through a significant trauma like that yourself. I think there's so many emotional struggles and also just this overwhelming feeling that you have going through all this stuff. So I feel like that is what really pushed me further into mental health stuff. Um, it, it's not that I didn't take it as seriously when I was like back in high school. I think I just didn't really have a full understanding of it because even though I had depression, I had anxiety, I had panic attacks, I didn't really get the full gist of it until I guess you could say my depression, anxiety, and my mental health really took a nosedive when I had that trauma.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally relate because when I had my episode after I had like kind of come out of it and like was accepting everything and was able to process everything, it definitely sparked even more passion for me with mental health just because I like experienced like very much stigmatized you know, and so getting to experience that and to be able to put myself in the shoes of people who may be experiencing it now, it just has that little fire in my belly now.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you too, like from your stories, like you've obviously been through a lot. So I think it's nice to see you kind of like push through and kind of overcome a lot of that too, even though there's moments where you thought you couldn't,
Yeah,
right? So
thank you.
yeah.
Okay, so next one, because we did just talk about falling off a 50-foot cliff. You just said he was in a coma. So I'm gonna ask, what were your first thoughts when you woke up from your coma?
Well, the first thoughts were I was a little confused because when they were taking out my
No shit.
because like
I'm pretty confused too.
I thought I had died. Like I remember like when I blacked out after hitting the bottom of that cliff, I literally felt like that was it. I didn't think I was going to wake up. So when they were taking out the breathing tube and just hearing all the suction and stuff, I was like, what's going on? And then and then it was like in the step down unit after ICU that like, cause I was on life support for like 2 weeks. And it was in the step down unit and after ICU that I guess I really started understanding what was going on because the doctors kind of came in one by one and was like, you had this injury, you had this injury. And I was like, huh? And we don't think you're gonna be able to walk yet, huh? So like it was a lot of like, holy shit, and I think that was like my initial like first thought was like, holy shit, I'm still alive, but I'm in really bad shape,
Yeah.
right? So I never thought that I would get to where I am now in life, looking back at all the years from my recovery standpoint. I never really thought I would get to where I am today. So I think that's something that's, you know, it truly is a miracle. I wish I had words for it, but I don't because I shouldn't be alive and I shouldn't be walking and I'm here.
You deserve
So
it. You deserve it. You fought
like,
through, and I'm glad you're here. So,
thank you.
you know, obviously. Oh yeah. This is also part of that. Did you dream when you were in a coma?
So the weirdest thing is, yes and no. A lot of it was just like blackness. not mean
Yeah.
to scare, just a lot of it was just black. But like there was little moments where I did have like little weird dreams, but at the same time, I also think it was just me hallucinating.
Okay.
Because I literally like it's a funny story. So in the PACU unit, which is where like they pack you up after you've been through surgery, right? When they were doing my arm surgery, that was like pretty much the last surgery before I was like out of ICU and I was all clear, right? But when I was waking up from that surgery and I was in the PACU unit, I looked at one of the guys that was bandaging up my arm and I was like, "Oh, so you play video games? Oh, so you play BioShock?" I never played BioShock in my life, first of all. I just knew the game existed. I don't know why that came out of my mouth. But like I was tripping. Like hospital drugs have you on a whole new level. So like there was a lot of comedic moments. Like I have videos of me like shaking the hospital bed, me mimicking a code white. Like I don't know what was going on in my head, but all I know is that the hospital drugs did some pretty interesting things to me.
I didn't the hospital drugs. I just had my episode and I got to experience that. Can you talk a little bit more about your mental health story and your advocacy?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, like to date, I do like a fair amount of mental health charity events and talks. I mean, obviously, I think the biggest thing is spreading awareness and making sure that people realize that they're not alone. And I feel like me doing the acting stuff, people see me do successful stuff within the industry and stuff like that. They're looking at me like, so you went through all that, and then like you're like coping, but like how, right? So I mean, like I feel like me telling my story and taking the stage and kind of like going through a whole mental health chat is like super important. I mean, my most recent one was an event at Landmark Cinema in Whitby, and like it was a full cinema, and like I was sitting there talking about my personal story. I was there with Richard Walters, who was also in Degrassi, and him and I just like struck up a conversation about mental health, the importance of checking in on people, and a lot of the questions that we had from the audience was stuff like, how do I know my loved one's going through something? And I was like, here's all the signs. So I kind of like listed the signs. I listed similar signs to even what I did because it took my parents forever to find out what I was going through.
Yeah.
So I think doing that is super important, and I plan on continuing to do that. I feel like there needs to be more awareness. I feel like the conversation needs to continue. I feel like it's a never-ending conversation. I think that's the most important part. Because
Yeah.
realistically, people that battle with mental health issues, they never truly get rid of it. They just learn to cope with it, right? So I think that's super important that we continue that conversation.
100%. And I'm doing it, you're doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have voices, but we need more. So
Yes.
my next question, what's the best part about being an EMR? Because
Ooh.
it looks fun,
So-
but I'm also, you already know, he knows, I'm with any medical, like if any medical emergency that's happening to me, I will give the paramedics a hard time. Not like rude, just like
Yeah.
literally don't touch me.
I mean,
Like, love
rightfully
you,
so.
proud of you,
Yeah.
but do not touch me.
I mean, rightfully so though. At the same time, like I mean, like you gotta remember, like you're going through a crisis, right? So like us as EMRs and medics out there and all sorts of medics, whatever their category is, even fire and police that also respond to these type of calls. I think the important thing that everyone needs to remember is that the patient comes first, and the thing is like your voice and everything like that matters, right? So doing the EMR stuff, going to a call, or like when I'm doing like a vet medical or set medical, if I'm dealing with someone in a crisis, I got to put myself in their shoes and realize this could be one of their worst days, right? So I have to kind of go into it being like, all right, they're not having a good day, obviously. I need to now get onto their level and kind of focus and, basically, check off the boxes and figure out what I'm going to do to kind of like bring them back to earth and kind of get on the same page as them to make them trust me in a way to be able to help them, right? Because if they're going through like a physical crisis, a mental health crisis, you name it, right? It's important to know like they're going to be in panic mode. They're going to have major
I would trust
anxiety.
you, but that's because I know you.
Yeah, well, see, that's just it, right? Like, I mean, but I think that like I guess the better word for being fun with DMR, I think like there are some fun moments, of course. We have like outings with other first responders and stuff. I feel like a lot of first responders we have a little dark humor side to make ourselves, like laugh. I think it's there for sure. So I feel like from the fun side of stuff, there are those fun side of stuff, but we don't do it for the fun. We do it because we're trying to help somebody in need, right? We want to help that individual that's in crisis, right? So like we're devoting our time. I mean, yes, it is a job, but a lot of us are devoting our time to help others. And it's really funny because a lot of people that get into anything from either paramedicine or medics or EMRs or even just standard first aid, they're lifeguards and stuff like that. They get into the healthcare side of things, I feel, because maybe they've had a loved one that had a medical issue. Maybe they personally went through a medical issue. So I feel like there's a lot of us like that have been through stuff that want to do the job, of course, to get paid because we have to make a living, but at the same time to give back to the community, give back to those people, because at the end of the day, someone's got to do it. Someone has to come forth and willingly help someone in need. And we can see the worst of things. We can see the worst of things like a cardiac arrest, or we can see lighter things like a simple nosebleed, right? So every day is different. And we can also deal with people with mental health issues as well, like mental health crisis is the big one. And both, like, we've had, me specifically, not going into call details, but like when I was working at a music festival once, I had somebody that had overdosed on drugs, woke up, and then went into a mental health crisis, right? So you have that, you have the physicality side of it, you also have the mental health side of it. And I think at that time, the most important thing is getting to the hospital, obviously, but working as an event medic, we also have to stabilize them and get them ready, packaged up to go to the hospital, right?
Yeah.
And once again, that comes to making them trust us, making them let us treat them, because implied consent really only comes down to if they're unconscious, right? So if they're awake, if they're awake, we do have to gain their consent, we have to gain their trust before we actually give them any sort of medical help.
It's like when you say packed up, you're just like with a tight little bow.
No, we don't.
Come on.
No.
If that ever happens to me, if I get packed up, you tie like a little bow or something.
No, we typically have them on the stretcher. We'll let them rest. We'll let them lay down. Usually,
if I was in the stretcher, I'd be fighting my way out. I'd be fighting my way out.
We don't tie them down. I think we'll put some blankets on them. We'll make them feel relaxed. Obviously, if
I wouldn't be relaxed. At all.
If they're having difficulty breathing, the best place for anyone that has difficulty breathing is sitting up. They'll usually prop them up on the stretcher.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I had baby asthma, and apparently, I tried to lay down and I would keep sitting up.
Yeah,
and then
anyone that's difficulty breathing, the best position for them is to be up. Right? Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe not standing, but sitting down upright.
Yeah. Oh, come on, get up.
Yeah, stand up.
Let's go. Literally just had cardiac arrest. Come on, you got this. You got this. And okay, so for the last question, this is a fun one. So what's like the best or most fun thing that you've gotten to experience in your career? It can be with mental health activism, it can be with being an EMR, or it can be with acting, like whatever. You can say as much as you want, or
so I think each of them have their fun moments, clearly. And I think the better way to word it, I think with the mental health advocacy stuff and the EMR stuff, I do that stuff to help others. I don't really put myself out there, if that makes any sense. I share my story because I use that kind of as a tool to be like, this is kind of what I went through and like what worked for me. But at the same time, I use those opportunities to help others. Forget about me, right?
Yeah.
The acting stuff is definitely like something I love doing. It's a huge passion for me. That is my heart and blood, is in the acting scene. And I have quite a few projects coming up this year, which I'm super excited about. I can't talk about yet.
I've seen some things.
But I do have a bunch of stuff coming up this year. I think the acting stuff is the stuff that I do for the love of it and the fun of it, and the EMR and mental health advocacy stuff I do to help others. Is the best way to
what's the most fun thing that you've gotten to experience?
Most thing. I would say, like, from the acting side of things, The Injustices was a fun one to film because it was all horror based. And that one actually recently got into some film festivals that won a couple of awards, which is great. I'm even more excited though for what's coming this year, and I can't talk about any of it yet, but it's killing me. But this year is going to be really awesome for the acting side of things, and I'm so amped for it. And I think I've been waiting a very, very long time for these moments coming up. And I owe a huge thank you to like my friends and family, people that have supported me thus far, because it's those people that have gotten me these opportunities that are coming up.
You're welcome.
Those things.
Well, those are the questions that I had for you. How did you like this show?
It was great. Honestly, I think that you're doing an outstanding job with this podcast. And once again, I think spreading awareness about mental health and about the advocacy stuff is huge. So I encourage you to keep plugging away and keep doing it. And I'm excited to see what you have coming in the future.
Thank you. Well, that's
Okay.
it for this show. Thank you guys for listening or watching.
Thank you.
I guess I will see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.